Malawi, and it's a fulsome event that we've got this afternoon. But I'm going to pass to Naseem to give a bit of housekeeping.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Just a few housekeeping. I'm sure good afternoon everyone joining us, even in Malawi, it's also afternoon. So just a few housekeeping. Would like everyone to remain muted as we are in this session. Unless you're asked to speak, then you can unmute your mic and you can raise your hand if you have a question, type it in the comment section as well, and also just put your camera on. So it's good to see a face when somebody's asking something or speaking something. It's lovely to see a face to it. The other thing that we're going to mention is that this meeting is going to be recorded, and everything that is shared here shall be shared on our YouTube channel, and it will be shared as well on our Facebook, Instagram, on our socials, and on our website. So if you know that you wouldn't want to be seen there, we're happy for you to turn off your mic. Sorry, your camera. So that's fine. And yeah, Sharon, I think that's you. Thank you.
Thanks, Naseem. So welcome once again for those of you who've just popped in. This is the Climate Change in Malawi session put on by Scotland Malawi Partnerships Youth and Schools Forum. My name's Sharon Brown and I'm the chair of the forum, and I'm delighted to welcome some key speakers to the event. And make sure that you're making use of the chat pane and adding in any questions. This is going to be monitored by colleagues from the Scotland Malawi Partnership who are on the call. So we've got Dorothea, we've got Chad, we've got Stuart, and we've got Ian, I believe, on the call. And they'll endeavour to answer any questions that you pop on there as best we can. So as you're aware, climate change is real and it's affecting countries across the globe, with Malawi being one country that's seriously impacted and affected by what's happening. So to hear more on this, I'd like to welcome the speakers for the session. The first speaker is from the Wildlife and Environmental Society of Malawi, and I'll pass you over to Lindsey Macdonald, who'll introduce herself, and Ausward.
Hello, thank you for that. And I'm afraid I'm a bit rough with this technology. I couldn't work out how to mute my speaker, so you can tell me how to do that after I've spoken. First of all, though, I'll put some slides up. I don't plan to read through these slides, but because they're full of facts. The presentation will be available afterwards. Mitch has got it. What always what always gets me is that I lived in Malawi for several years, and I missed the crucial bit of internet development, which was all about sharing internet and Microsoft Teams and all this sort of thing, and smartphones. So I'm still way behind on how to do all this. Here we are. So the wildlife and environmental, that's me, and Ausward is hopefully in Blantyre on this call, and he'll be speaking later about what's happening now in Blantyre and in WESM across the whole country.
His hand is moving right after surgery. This is miraculous.
I think someone's microphone is unmuted. If we could all make sure that we're muted. Thank you.
Malawi, you probably know, it's one of the most densely populated countries in Africa. The population has doubled in the last 25 years, and it's exactly the opposite of Britain. Most people live in rural areas, not accessible by road. Some of the villages along the lake only accessible by water, and only 17% use the internet, whereas you're hard put to find many people not scrolling on their phones here. So we just have to have that in our mind. Throughout, the emphasis of this is on the fact that most people in Malawi depend on farming for their living. They make money out of farming. They live off what they grow. and most of the farming is done without irrigation. It's done depending on the rainy season, which comes anytime between November and February. And the big fact is that still 94% of people use wood as their main fuel. Only 7 or 8% of people have access to electricity. And although the Malawi government is doing an awful lot to develop the grid and develop access to electricity and to develop solar power so that people in rural areas can actually use solar power to, you know, listen to the radio, charge their phones, what have you. Still, the vast majority of people depend on wood. And that's the big problem for climate change in Malawi. For those of you who want it, here's the UN definition, despite what the naysayers and the people who are still denying that climate change exists. Human activities have been the main driver of climate change. So the only thing that's going to stop it is human activities changing and humans doing something different. And I thought a couple of slides from Oxfam, just again giving the global picture and background, in the fact that it's the poorest nations and those nations which are dependent on the land for their living are the worst hit by climate change. It's the rich few who can afford to do what they want to do, who are causing the climate change and causing the problems for the vast majority of people in the world. You probably all have heard this, but the effects of Malawi have been drastic and increasingly drastic changes in rain patterns. People, even when we lived there nearly 20 years ago, could guarantee that the false rains would come in November, and then in December the real rains would come. Now the rain patterns are far less predictable, and that means less security for growing food. You'll have heard of the catastrophic events, and particularly Cyclone Freddy, which killed thousands of people, and there are still people displaced as a result of it. This is the World Bank figures on the effects on Malawi, and it's increasing. You can see in the last 13 years, Malawi's had 16 major flooding events which displace people, sometimes kill people. The rainfall related landslide, which was Cyclone Freddy. And this is only going to get worse as climate change is not tackled by the rest of the world. Ausward's on the call, but he told me a story of one of his aunts, who is a chief on one of the villages most badly affected by Cyclone Freddy. The village was swept away by the landslide in Cyclone Freddy. And up till that time, people had ignored the fact that they had chopped down all the trees and that the land was not being held by the roots of the trees. And they kept chopping down the trees until they lost their homes. And this chief, Ausward's auntie, had a long conversation with Ausward, and she said, well, yes, we trusted in God, and now God has told us clearly what we need to be doing. We need to be planting trees. And I think people are beginning to get the message. I can remember walking on Zomba, asking the young women who were carrying trees that they chopped down, and they said, God will provide. They said, God will provide trees. And I said, but you're cutting them down, you're not replacing them. And I think the message is slowly getting through. Anyway, back to the slides. As I said, Malawi relies on agriculture. 84% of people rely not only for their living, for making money, but also on what they grow is what they eat. And agriculture relies on stable weather and good soil, i.e. nature. But if we're not doing things to tackle climate change, and if people in Malawi aren't, but if people around the rest of the world aren't, then things are just going to get worse. I took this photograph of Lake Chilwa in 2008. It was flooded. We went on Lake Chilwa and saw lots of beautiful water birds on Lake Chilwa. And the problem then was people killing the water birds for nourishment and creating a local extinction problem. And you can see the fishing nets, the fishing traps there for the fish. This was a few months ago. That you can see, it's virtually the same view. It's the same mountain in the background. Lake Chilwa has dried up. There are no fish for the people to eat. There are no birds for the people to kill and eat either. And that whole habitat has been destroyed. And this is the key thing that WESM this is the key message that we have. Climate collapse is a human-made problem. We're making it, we're causing the problem for ourselves, but we're causing it for all life on Earth, all the plants, all the trees, all the birds, all the animals are suffering from climate change. And that's a problem that we humans are creating. And it's sad that governments focus on people because they're the ones with votes. So governments provide grants to help people grow more. Governments provide grants for increased electricity. What they don't provide is grants to help the animals that are becoming extinct because of the human-made problem. And this is the bigger picture that WESM is educating people about. So when you think of climate change, please do not just think of the effects on that village of people. Think of its effects on the bird life around there, the insect life, the other plant life that actually forms the web of life for rural economies, and can also, if climate change carries on as it is doing, will cause the collapse of that web of life and collapse of those ecosystems, which will also affect humans, but it will bring about extinction. This is what experts in the field say. But again, this is all to do with its effects on humans. The problems that Malawi has are climate change is exacerbated by the existing problems: deforestation, watershed degradation. A lot of that is caused by the deforestation. Once you cut down trees, there is nothing holding the soil there. So the soil gets washed into the watercourses, washed into the rivers, silts up those rivers, kills those rivers because the water won't flow anymore. And so the soil becomes dead. It's not nutritious enough to grow crops. And if it's not nutritious, what happens then is people put artificial nitrogen fertilizers, which causes even more climate problems on the land. So deforestation leads to so many more problems. At one point, well, Malawi still has 80 forest reserves designated by law. Sadly, they're only now on paper. Most of them now don't exist anymore as trees, as forests. They've all been cut down. in Blantyre, Indirandi Mountain was completely forested until the early 1990s. Now it's bare. And what happened 3 years ago in Blantyre was the Matura Mountain Nature Reserve, which was the last forest in Blantyre, was attacked by big business. And hundreds of tree poachers, being paid by big business, moved on and into the nature reserve and started chopping down trees, threatening and attacking the rangers and attacking the local residents, so that they ruled the nature reserve. That's turned around now. I'll talk a bit more about that later. But cutting down trees is big business in Malawi, because they're becoming rarer. It's you know, it's a growing profit margin. What is being done in Malawi about climate change? The government has great plans. The government has strategies that have been worked out into actually workable deliverables. But the Malawi government depends on international aid to fund most of those plans. It doesn't have GDP enough to pay for these major infrastructure works. A lot of the hydroelectric projects are underway, especially in the south of the country, for making use of the Shire River and the escarpment. And they're also encouraging lots of NGOs to run projects, bringing local grids run by solar power, and encouraging people to have solar power systems in their own homes. They also actually have plans to develop coal mines, but in my view, luckily, they're not getting grant aid to fund those. And they're also, again, tipping their toes into what's the word? Trading in carbon credits on the very few forests that still exist. But I'm afraid that from my experience when we lived there and when we travelled into Mozambique, a lot of these carbon credit systems were fraudulent. I would encourage you all to sign up if you're on Facebook with this page, the Association of Environmental Journalists in Malawi. They actually cover a lot of the environmental issues in Malawi, in great detail, with great accuracy, and it highlights the issues. Charcoal, wood, charcoal. This is illegal. Producing charcoal is illegal without a license, but every time, I'm sure when you visited this last time, there are still bags and bags of charcoal being created and sold. So this was one case. This was about 2 weeks ago on the AEJ Facebook page. This was a few weeks further than that. Flooding in Dedza, floods caused by deforestation, silting, landslips. And they say this tragedy is a stark reminder: charcoal burning is not just destroying our forests, it's destroying lives and livelihoods. But as I keep saying, it's also destroying the plant life, the animal life, everywhere in the country. I put that in. Read that at your own will. This is how venture capitalists look at Malawi. They don't look at it as the people and the environment and the other wonderful nature in Malawi. They look at it as how they can make money. What minerals are there? What other things they can dig up? What other things they can remove from Malawi to make money out of? So, what WESM is doing. WESM, as I said, it is one of the oldest NGOs in Malawi. It's was formed in 1947, so it's coming up for its 80th anniversary. It's Malawi run and led. It doesn't have committees in any other country apart from us. We're a small friends group to support WESM. It's not like Oxfam, Christian Aid. It's run by local people on local committees in their local towns and villages. So our chair is Dr. Tiwangi Gawa, who is Malawi's leading ornithologist, and also is a professor at the University of Malawi in Zomba. All the committees are largely Malawian. They're a mix in Blantyre and Lilongwe because there are lots of foreigners who are living in those countries, in those cities. And we work largely through wildlife clubs. And I don't know if you know, you probably do know, that every school in Malawi has by law to have a wildlife club. And most of those wildlife clubs, the school clubs, are members of their local WESM branch. So in Blantyre, we have nearly 400 schools in membership. And that represents about 30,000 young people and teachers who are interested in and wanting to learn and do something about their local environment. So we support their wildlife clubs by training teachers, giving them environmental education resources and helping them run projects. We also do rescue projects. I talked about Michiru. So the big thing that we're doing now in Blantyre is we're 2 years after the huge attack on Michiru by these poachers, and the local villages were so so angered by people from other villages and other cities moving in and stealing their wood. They have formed their own volunteer scouting gang, and they patrol with the local national parks rangers to prevent the poaching carrying on. WESM is supporting those scouts by providing food for them when they're patrolling, but also running things like helping the women who are volunteers set up beekeeping clubs, and also helping them by setting up things like guiding clubs, so people can earn money by being guides walking on Michiru. We also do a lot of Gardening God's Way, which is about permaculture and growing without artificial fertilizers. The biggest thing we do is planting trees. I'm hoping if I can hand over to Ausward, because I'm hopeless at these screens. I can't see whether Ausward's on the call. Is Ausward on the call? Can somebody tell me if Ausward's on?
Yes, Lindsay is on the call. Yes.
Ausward, will you take over now and tell people what you're doing in Blantyre and what WESM's doing nationally on climate change?
Thank you. After taking a bit of time explaining things, you need a glass of water.
I do.
Yeah. So.
And can somebody tell me how I can mute myself? I can't see.
Should see a microphone above all the images.
Lindsay, I've done it for you. It's okay, Lindsay, I've done it for you.
Ausward, do you want to come in now?
Yes. Yeah. So as I'm speaking, Lindsay, would you go to the slide which is talking about the work we are doing in Blantyre? Lindsey, can you hear me?
Can't hear you, Ausward.
Is she still online?
Ausward, she's there and she could hear you, but she's muted herself. So I think just proceed.
All right. So I'm Ausward Bonongwe, working with WESM, Wildlife and Environmental Center of Malawi, as Environmental Education Manager. So basically, my work is to do with developing environmental education programs, but also delivering environmental education activities and coordinating the environmental education efforts that is happening across the country, but in particular at Blantyre branch, which covers the seven districts of the southern half of Malawi. So my work is basically centered in environmental education, and we have wildlife clubs, as Liz has mentioned, which is one of the core thematic areas. So, as Liz mentioned, in Blantyre region, we have 400 wildlife clubs, but across Malawi, we have 2,100 wildlife clubs, of which 81% of these are in schools, in primary and secondary schools, and another 9% are in communities, and the rest are in faith-based institutions. So many of these are young ones that are joining conservation clubs in their schools, and they're doing quite a lot of work on issues of tree planting, on issues of waste management, among many other things. So very recently, waste has been one of the key drivers for urban flooding in Malawi, so much so that in all our cities, floods have been talk of the day. Anytime it rains in these places, you find that roads are being cut, water running in the landways. They have been overflowing the roads, cutting the roads, causing a lot of disturbances. So it has been like that very recently, like the past 10 years, which was not the case previously. So basically also because apart from the waste issues, but also a lot of trees along the river banks that have passed through the cities, trees have been cut, making the rivers not to be able to breathe. But also this has been happening even in rural areas. So apart from that, we have also been working in wildlife research and conservation. We do game counts so that we count the birds, we count the mammals, so that the country is informed in terms of how many lions do we have, how many elephants do we have, and the other animals, but also conducting conservation research for specific species that are endangered, the species that are threatened, and also to understand the ecological status of some of the species and even the areas that these animals live in. So our primary research focus has also been in protected areas, in national parks, wildlife reserves, in wetlands. So these places have been targeted for specific reasons. So we have been trying also to conduct research so that we're able to generate information, data that we are using for environmental education. So apart from that, we have also been doing rescue projects, like in Michiru Nature Sanctuary, where Lindsey mentioned, the area, the nature sanctuary, was the only mountain remained with natural trees in the country. and especially in Blantyre. So the area was dominated by people who are coming as long as 200 kilometers, coming to Blantyre, staying nearby. Others to make sure that they are aligning well with the communities. They were even coming there to marry, so that they are being seen as people that have come to marry in the communities, so that they are accepted. But ideally, they are coming for the mountain to cut the trees, so much so that there's the mountain sanctuary has had over 80% of its tree resources being cut. So just as an example, but we also have other places like Lake Shirwa, and also other wetlands like in Chia Lagoon. We have been implementing various initiatives aimed at rescuing the place. At the meantime, the poaching was reduced from 100 to around 9%, because there are a lot of people, thousands of people are going to the mountain to cut trees, burn charcoal, and do other illegal activities. But as of December 2025, only around 9 out of 100 people that were seen. In percentage, the number has reduced through the initiatives that we have been making of bringing the communities around, training the communities around, but also allowing the community patrols to make sure that they're taking part in patrolling the forest. And an approach what we call nothing for them without them. So at that time, when we started involving the communities, all the mountains in Blantyre urban, some 3 years ago when we had the cyclone Freddy, there are some water eruptions, mudslides, demolishing houses, killing people. But Michiru Mountain developed some resilience in many areas where trees were still standing. And that gave a lot of evidence to the communities that if we manage to protect the tree species that are in this area, in situations like those, we are going to survive as per the evidences that were seen. So the organization has been planting trees in the fringes of protected areas, like in Michiru, along the river banks, in other bare places that are highly deforested. And these trees have been growing well, because before we planted the trees, we were lobbying the groups to come together so that we have got the champions that will look after the planted trees. And our survival rate has been good at an average of 81% survival rate, which is far very high as compared to the trees that are being planted by other institutions, but at the same time government. So our secret has always been that we take throughout the year organizing groups, raising the tree seedlings, and identifying right places and the right species to be planted in the right places, so that there's a match between the soil systems and the needs of a particular tree species in a particular area. So that has worked well with our approach as WESM. But we have also been educating children and families, but also promoting efficient biomass stoves, lobbying government and the agencies to develop new policies, to change strategies, to change approaches, and even to allocate additional technical staff in areas like the recent case in Michiru, when the communities wanted to finish whatever was there, but at the same time, they were also targeting the houses and education center that they need to burn and finish everything. So we have been lobbying government to change the policies, to increase number of workers, number of game rangers in those places, so that we're able to rescue such places. So in Michiru, the past 5 years, the deforestation rate in the reserve has been very, very high, and a lot of trees being cut, the Mopane woodlands being lost, a lot of bushfires. So it was really very, very, very bad. So the communities, when we involved them, they ganged up to say we would like to participate in protecting the reserve, the nature sanctuary. So at the meantime, as I'm speaking, just today, the communities were up the mountain patrolling the forest reserve, and they're doing that as volunteers. And at some point, Lindsey did help to source shoes from the well-wishers, as communities were walking on barefoot up the mountain, and they're having a lot of problems and injuries. But in the end, we managed to reduce the situation. And thanks for showing the pictures. Yeah, so the pictures that are being shown, this is inside Michiru Nature Sanctuary, closer to the peak, where people used to go there, do the picnicking activities, doing a lot of activities up there, but the area was affected, and they are not cutting as in stealing the trees. They were clearing one by one. So that's what was happening in Michiru. The next slide. Yes, so these are the people that we are talking about, that these are community volunteers that after having some discussions with them to say, look, nothing for them without them. They started generating knowledge after a lot of environmental education meetings that we need to participate. So these are community volunteers coming from all the villages that have surrounded the mountain, taking part. So they have been doing that, and this is what has helped the reduction of poaching in Michiru. Meanwhile, we still have some few animals remained, a lot of varieties of birds, and a lot of natural trees standing, and a very big area has regenerated very well, that we have got about 3 meters tall of trees, and so far it is looking very good. The challenge is that if these communities have decided to withdraw, very likely it will be the same communities that would trigger the finishing of what is being protected that side. But meanwhile, the situation is very good after being working with them. Next. Yeah, so we have been doing, after trying to see what else should we do on alternative income generation, we have been planting food forests in the Michiru buffer areas. So what we were doing, these were the areas that the communities were already protecting, and the forests were regenerating. So we were turning those forests, those natural forests, to be food forests by introducing some other crop plants that should enable the people living in that particular area to be able to harvest fruits, whether they are root crops, in the same area. But at the same time, the areas, when we do that, they are able to harvest water. So we are making local manure and the like to make sure that the trees that are planted in that particular area, they are able to regenerate, grow well. So they are benefiting from the fresh air, firewood, but at the same time, they're also able to harvest the forest, the fruits from the forests that we were introducing. So it was a model that we tested, and it's so far.
Thank you. If you could wrap, if you've got one more minute, if you want to kind of conclude your presentation, thank you.
Yeah. So in a minute, we have seen the power of communities in assisting the reduction of degradation in protected areas. And our youth group, we have been training young people in conservation, which has been one of our key milestones. So our key messages is that we need to consider the planet, we need to change our behavior, we need to make the right choices, we need to spread the word and the right word to everyone, but also we need to partner with the schools so that we're able to achieve all the initiatives we are doing across the region, across the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, what a scope of work is being undertaken by WESM. Thank you so much, Lindsey and Ausward, for that input this afternoon. Now, There will be a chance for questions, Q&A at the end. So I suggest what we do is we move on, and really, if we think about the work of the Youth and Schools Forum, it's about encouraging schools and youth groups to get actively involved in all things to do with Malawi. And the ultimate really is to get such groups working with similar groups in Malawi through school or community partnerships. So what we're going to do now for the remainder of the time is we're going to hear from 5 schools, or 4 I think it is actually, keep me right, who are actively involved with schools in Malawi and who visited those partner schools during 2025. So to kick us off looking at those schools, I'm going to invite Nicola Barker-Harrison, who can explain the school that she's from, and Sam Drummond, who are going to give us their thoughts on their visits in June and July in 2025. So I'll pass over to Nicola and Sam, first of all.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try and share my screen, so if you bear with me, maybe Sam could entertain you all while I do this.
Yeah, hello, I'm just trying to get my camera all sorted as well. Technology is great when it works.
Can you see the presentation
Hello.
okay?
Yes, yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're all good, Nicola, I can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm Nicola Barker-Harrison and I'm the head teacher at Armadale Academy.
And I'm Sam Drummond. I'm one of the SLF teachers at Beath High School, so I've been working closely with Mitch.
And we're talking about a joint trip that we took to Malawi, and in our presentation we'll talk about who went on the trip, why we had a joint trip, how it worked actually, any reflections, and then there's an opportunity for you to ask us any questions about our joint trip as well. Both schools had a selection of staff and students. There was a slightly larger group from my school, Armadale Academy. We had 21 students and 5 staff. And from Beath, there were 3 students and 3 staff. But as a group, we were together the whole time, apart from when we were at our partner schools. We met in Scotland and travelled down to Manchester together. And we spent our time, sort of recreational time together. And I think it did actually work. We sort of became one big kind of happy family. The young people had a chance to meet prior to the visit as well. I suppose you might be wondering why we did our joint visit. The main reason was that I previously worked at Beath High School. For many years, I worked alongside Mitch and Sam and was part of the Malawi partnership there. And I moved to Armadale in January 2023. Our schools are, for anyone that doesn't know,
Nicola, it's not flicking through the slides. You'll have to flick through it still if it's.
I'm moving it forward. It's looking like from me it's.
I can still see
I can move the slides. I can move the slides at the bottom for myself, Nicola. I'm not sure if you want me just to do that. I don't know if anybody else is trying to move on, but I can certainly move it myself.
Take control. If I do take control, I'll see if it'll work.
It's showing on mine that I've got control and it's moving, but yeah, if one of you wants to do that, that would be good.
I can do it because I've got the presentation in front of me as well, so I know what we're.
So we should be on the why a joint trip. And I'll just keep talking while you're doing that. Right,
yep.
So I moved from Beath to Armadale in 2023. Our schools are probably about 40 minutes apart here, and our partnership schools in Malawi are probably a similar proximity. One of our schools is actually very close indeed. It gave us an opportunity. I was going to be the only person on my trip that had been to Malawi before, so I had the opportunity to share the experience. Mitch has obviously been a number of times as well. And by bringing together our 2 groups as well, it meant that there was a viable number from the Beath party, and that would hopefully kind of reduce the costs by being able to fit in buses. And we also thought it was important, you know, part of the Scotland-Malawi partnership ethos is about that making friends and connections, and actually it's an opportunity for our young people to make friends, not just with young people in Africa, but also in other parts of Scotland. I don't know, Sam, you want to take over now?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I had unmuted myself. Yeah, so a kind of brief overview is what we did as a group is, we had a very long journey from, mine's a bit longer, coming from Beath to then get to Armadale. We had an absolute storm a brewing as we were all getting on the bus all the way down to Manchester, getting our flights all the way down there. So it was a really good experience to kind of get to just know each other a little bit more through that journey alone. Then getting to arrive in Malawi itself, settle in, and then having that kind of nice weekend together as a group, getting to go and visit the main Blantyre, and then on Sunday, which I think was probably the first point when we went to church, which was a very wholesome moment as a group. There was a lot of happy tears and kind of settling in of what that experience was going to look like, I think, for the next kind of week or so. And we were going to go and visit the schools. And a lot of organising that was about to get done as well before we went to go and do that. We then went on our separate kind of ways as groups, with Armadale going to visit Kaya, and with me and Mitch with our small group going to visit Mapanga and Njali over those kind of 5 days. We then, after all those hard works being in the schools, got to then experience what Malawi was a little bit more about. Going on a hike trail up to the waterfall, getting to experience the safari on the water and the land, which I think was a really good experience for the pupils as well as myself and maybe all the other adults that hadn't been to experience Malawi. And then obviously having that nice relaxed bit to then come back. So it was a really good experience as a whole, even for me as a member of staff, have never been before, and experiencing that along with the pupils and with staff that obviously had been. Just a kind of few photos to kind of show those experiences that we did as a group. So this is when we went to Blantyre, went and seen the church, went and got our paints, the pupils listening to some of Mitch's lovely historical chats as we were out doing our wandering as well. We got to, when we at the church, we were up dancing with everybody as well, which was a lovely experience to go and do, and singing along. So that was really lovely for all of us to go and do that.
I think it brought us together as a group as well.
Yeah, I think it was a really that kind of tight bonding moment where we all did kind of like, this is where this journey is going to go for the next week or two, and what that was going to look like. Getting to go with the pupils as well and purchase and do a bit of haggling as well in the market with their getting their lovely materials and seeing all the different experiences that we've got. So kind of from our perspective as my little small group from Beath, so it was just me, Mitch, we had a volunteer, and we had three pupils with us. I think for both schools it was a very, very warm welcome. They had a sign up for us as we came in, we got to then meet the staff, sit down with the staff, do introductions, and then we got to kind of go and then integrate with all the classes and the teaching staff. And for me as a professional, it was really nice to get to come and have those conversations with the other teacher staff and what they bring to their pupils and what their kind of goals are, which are very similar to what we have in our schools as well. Getting to help them and provide their learning and experiences by helping to repaint some of the younger year classes. I know Mitch and Fiona met with some of the parent council, you can keep me right on that, Mitch, that came to visit in Mapanga, and learn about kind of what they were wanting as well going forward as our partnership that's going to help and grow us together. My students went and go and helped them make their lunch as well, which was lovely as well. The pupils got to then bond with the teachers and the kids as well to see what that was all about. So kind of show some of those experiences as well. This is me kind of teaching in one of the classrooms, doing some English, when we went to visit some of the younger years, and kind of where the school was kind of at that time from when the partnership was established. And just getting to be a part of their community and getting to share that with them, which is one of the big values at Beath, is really we're all about being a team and working together as a community, which was really felt within that as well when we went to go to Mapanga. And I got to share one of my t-shirts with the lovely teachers as well, which was a really nice experience. Also kind of at the start and the end, us giving to them as a school, getting to give all their the donations that we had given to them, which was very greatly appreciated by them. And you could tell by that when at the end of our experience that they then gave us something back as well and gave us a lovely presentation of some songs and some poems from their students, which was lovely to see. So we didn't have just the one visit. We had two, so we had a day at Mapanga and Njali, kind of vice versa throughout the week. So similar when we went to Njali, that we had another big warm welcome from them. Me and Mitch got to do some teaching within the classrooms. Again, just getting to come together with the staff and the pupils is a lovely community sense, and really getting to be that one partnership all together. Mitch also got the opportunity to go out and experience the school's football tournament that was on, so that was a big kind of day that he was doing while we were still kind of getting that connection with the schools rather than being so far away and getting to really sit down and talk with them. I got to even do some of my nice I'm very sporty, so getting to do some chats with netball and things like that was a really nice thing to do. So again, our students were kind of getting stuck about it in the classrooms, helping with like the marking or some teaching, and you could just really feel the love in the community that was really given to us, like to them, and received back in. Kind of like from the football tournament as well, there was a presentation that the kids had done, and again, just kind of the end of that experience, giving out those donations to the kids, you could really feel how much it meant to them, as well as us giving to them. But it is a partnership, and that kind of to and fro, that what we give to them, they give back. So kind of when we came back from that, it has been established for a long time. And kind of we've had updates from the school since then of what their goals and their achievements were that they were wanting from that. So Njali have begun brightening up. They wanted to do some more planting and looking at school improvements. They've also got their new school building that they've also pretty much almost finished as well, to give them some more teaching space and kind of helping grow what they're doing with their curriculum. And our pupils at Beath are also trying to, at the moment, help grow their science curriculum. We're trying to do some experiments here, using their new iPads to help record videos and take pictures to help build their curriculum that they maybe can't provide, that we can help give them back, and they can give us, you know, that group community in return. And it was kind of the same from Mapanga. Mapanga were looking to do some improvements with their toilets and really expand their classroom spaces, and that's really progressed on since we've been there as well, since last year. So a lot of big movement that's been happening on their part as well as us putting in from there. So quite a lot that's been going on, and it's really great to see, and it was really lovely to experience that, not just on our own, but with another school, with Armadale. So with that, I'll pass over back to you, Nicola.
Thank you. So the partnership with Beath, as you heard, is a long established one, and I've been, was very proud to be part of that and visited the schools a number of times. So it was really nice for me to hear how they were all getting on, and hear from friends. The partnership with Armadale, we started it not long after I started here in 2023. It was based on a friendship that I had with the head teacher of Kaya Primary School, Bright, who I'd met out in Malawi when we were both deputy head teachers. Kaya Primary School is a massive primary school. It's got about 4,000 students, and as a head teacher of 1,200, I find it quite sort of mind-boggling to have so many, especially when there's so few staff. But again, we got such a warm welcome when we went there. It was really nice for us to be able to meet people face to face. We'd had lots of contact via WhatsApp, and we'd sent some parcels out. You can see that the staff there wearing some of our Armadale school ties. After Cyclone Freddy, the young people at Armadale have been really keen to support, so we'd done some fundraising, we'd sent some football strips and so on. But at that point, it was really almost like a pen pal relationship. So it was really nice for us to cement the partnership and to really sort of move it forward by visiting for the first time. Are you able to move on? Slides, thanks. Like Sam was saying, a lot of our time was spent obviously in the classrooms. It was great for our young people to get the opportunity to be in lessons, to see the similarities and the differences in the curriculum, to see how large the classes are in Malawi, and perhaps to reflect on how lucky we are with the buildings and the resources we have here, but also to see, to speak to the young people and to find out that they've got the same hopes and dreams and you know, want to do well in their lessons. As a teacher, I'm always mesmerised watching Malawian colleagues teach such huge classes with such ease, and I feel I'll learn from them every single time as well. One of the things we did in the next slide you can see is, like Sam was saying, is we spent some time trying to brighten up the environment, painting the blackboards, painting some murals. I was originally an art teacher and we had quite a few creative students. So we spoke to the school and asked them beforehand what would be helpful. As that partnership, it wasn't us coming and doing stuff to them. And they said it would be really helpful if in the primary 1 and primary 2 classes, or the standard 1 and 2 classes, if we could put up things like alphabets, number squares, things that would be really helpful for the teachers with the learning and teaching. So our students got stuck in. If they weren't in lessons taking part, they were in classrooms painting, and some of them just were using their hands by the end with the blackboard paint, it looked like in that photo. But it was great, and it was a really good team building experience. Many of the Malawian teachers and young people also helped out, which was really nice as well. Again, that feeling of partnership. Next slide, please. As you'll know, sport is a huge thing in Malawi, and we took out some very keen netball and football players from our school. I think they were blaming the heat, but it was fair to say that we were perhaps not quite as skilled or healthy. I think the time that the young people in Malawi don't spend on computers shone through, and they were quite impressed by how fast they were on their feet and the level of fitness. But it was great to play together, for our young people to make those friendships, to be sharing, swapping football tops and so on. It was lovely, and just that team ethos through the week. Next slide. Like Beath, we had donations that people in our school community, families, churches and so on, local businesses had given us to take out. Some small items of clothing, underwear, also small stationery items. One of the things we found that the young people in Malawi liked most of all was the bubbles that we took. It was really nice to see them playing, and it was really lovely to see our young people you know, having fun with them, playing games, and so on. Next slide. But I think the most important thing was the friendships. As a head teacher, I was so proud to see how well they were all getting on, how much they wanted to learn. It was exciting to see our partnership really develop as we all started to make those links. And I think one of my colleagues, Lindsey, is also on the call, and she's going to speak just now about a particular friendship with one of the teachers in their additional support needs department. Lindsey, are you about?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think. Maybe. Hi. This is the first time I'd ever went out to Malawi, and it's always something I've really kind of wanted to do, but I just didn't realise quite how different it is compared to the two schools, because as you can see with the classrooms, they're not in obviously the greatest of quality compared to kind of what we're used to, so it was really nice to go in and really brighten up the classroom. The picture down in the corner is the ASN classroom, so I'm a PSW in my day-to-day job and a youth worker as well, so it was really nice to see how actually disabilities are really actually well, like, sort of looked after, and that because we obviously have a lot in Scotland of like your ASN needs, but there was particularly a deaf Malawian, and it was actually really quite inspiring to see, even though there is a lack of technology, lack of books, actually how amazing, like he had a particular sign interpreter for his teaching, and it just shows you the communication, which is totally different to kind of maybe what we're used to here. But yeah, I get on with a lot of the teachers and stuff. I've been talking for a lot of while, and I think they really appreciated actually just being able to do all the singing and the dancing, and them just being really happy and really wanting to give you letters and drawing and things. Yeah, I created some really good friendships with the Malawians. I still talk to them even now, even the ones that have left the partnership. But it just yeah, being a PSW and just seeing the total difference that education, and there was one of the teachers, Edwin, he done an amazing like role play sort of situation with them when they were teaching them, and I just thought that was so quite, like, we've not seen something like that because our teaching's quite structured, whereas theirs, even though they didn't have like your technology, they were still making lots of differences, and you can see how much knowledge. I had a go at the water pumps as well. I think these are all really strong doing that if you're from Malawi, because it took a lot of effort to try and get it. But yeah, we had a great time.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it was, you know, the partnership really, I feel, has moved on since, because we've got those genuine friendships, and it is more reciprocal. We're already planning our return visit in 2028, and they're very excited about seeing us again, and so on. A number of our students turned 18 when we were out there. It's really nice, and you can see Elliot there with some boys having, celebrating his birthday, and as he says, it was, what a brilliant place to do it. You couldn't ask for more.
1 minute, thank you.
Yeah. Sam, is there anything else?
No, I think it kind of sums up in both schools what a good partnership that it has become. Obviously, ones that have been established before and continue to grow, and ones that are just fresh and that are now developing into what could be a long-established partnership with yourselves. And I think it just sums up when we're looking here at the little experiences that we had after, kind of our hike to the waterfalls and having that bit of time there. At myself and Nicola and one of the other teachers as well. That by the end of it, we were just a total whole group. There was no separation. Everything was intertwined, and I think that's exactly how it is as well between our partnerships here in Scotland and in Malawi. That it's not that we're looking at it as separate schools, even though that we are still looking at it as that one whole collective. So, kind of reflecting upon it, I would say that it's definitely worked. The joint trip, I think, really has its benefits. But yeah, anything else apart from your part? Yeah, 100%. And if anybody has any questions for us as well, apart from our joint partnership that we've done, we'd be happy to answer any.
Thank you so much, ladies. That's so, so encouraging, and it's been there for that partnership's been there for such a long time. So really, thank you for giving us the details of the work that you've been doing with the young people. Okay, we're now going to move on to the Community School of Auchterarder in Perth and Kinross and Fortrose Academy in Murray, who are involved with the same school but in different ways. So I'm going to invite Archie Marshall from the Community School of Auchterarder and Ashley West from Fortrose Academy to share with us their visit to Malawi last summer.
Ashley, are you want to go first?
Oh, it's like you're chickening out.
No. It's just a talk for a long time. Mitchell hooked me after about 20 minutes or so.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm more than happy to go first. That's grand. I'll just get mine up just now. Hopefully it should come up. Yeah. Just let me know if you can see it. Hopefully.
Yes, I can see that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's coming up, Ashley.
Amazing.
Just need to start your slideshow.
Super, is that all came through?
Yep.
Amazing. So I'm Ashley West. I work as a biology teacher at Fortrose Academy. I've been here, I think, 4 years now. I've been here, and in those 4 years, I've been part of a project called Climate Smarter here. So just before I get started, I'll just start by mentioning why it's important for students to learn about climate change and learn about climate awareness within school and out with school as well. So just to read this wee part here, it says it's important for pupils in Scotland and Malawi to learn about climate change because it affects their lives and how now and in the future. In both countries, changing weather patterns, as we heard from Lindsey earlier about how the problems in Cyclone Freddy all have an issue over in Malawi. So I thought it was also very beneficial that we would learn about it as part of our science club. and being a biology teacher, learn about species and habitats and how this can impact on everyday life as a result of climate change. So just skipping over. So at Fortrose Academy, we're part of this Climate Smarter programme. So this programme looks at challenging the pupils to look at major issues such as how to maybe develop areas in energy, water, sustainable materials, and even looking at using the microbits as well, and how they can use that to even actually put it in through their eco schools and making sure that they learn all about it. So it just says here, Climate Smarter is a project that inspires pupils to think creatively and develop solutions to major global challenges, especially the climate emergency. Through investigation and experimentation, students explore practical ways to address this climate issue. So some of the things, just to show you some of the pictures that we've been doing. So over the 4 years, we have looked at various aspects. So activities such as floating wind turbines that you can see down the right-hand corner. We've also looked at creating solar panel circuits, hydropower, looking at woods and why wood is used as a sustainable material, and also looking at the microbits as well. So these projects are run during a Tuesday lunchtime. Actually, this year we've got some keen beans that come along on a Tuesday and a Thursday lunchtime now. So yeah, this project has been running for a long time, a good while, and the resources are all available through a government provided grant. So all the materials that I've been using within class are already provided. There's also an online resource that I can use where if I'm trying to plan what I would like to do in Science Club, there's resources of how to guides for each of them, which is an amazing resource to use. After they've gone through the full year of Science Club, they looking at creating an eco school. So my group just now are in the process of finishing off their eco school. When they do this, it goes along to a celebration of STEM event, which takes place in the Highlands. It's usually in Inverness that we go along. And these ones here, as you can see, each of them have all got a little certificate because each year Fortrose Academy have won as part of their eco school models, looking at all these different various aspects such as floating wind turbines, solar panels, and trying to come up with new inventive ways to combat on this climate challenge. So then, as part of this, back in 2024, so part of my second group of Science Club, what we were is Mitch actually introduced myself to Archie, and we actually came up with or sent over some resources to Lindsey over in Malawi. So when this happened, all that was involved was just some photographs of what we are doing over in Scotland and photographs over in Malawi, and trying to come up with different ideas to learn about these ways in which we can combat the climate change, and maybe looking at renewable energy and sustainability as part of it. So as you can see, the partnership, the top right-hand corner is actually the end. The girls had created a welcome video for everyone over in Malawi, where they went round and showed what my classroom looked like, what they've been doing in Science Club, and what ways that they wanted to build on this friendship together. And as you can see, Mitch has also came along and done some presentations with the groups each year since the partnership has grown. And these are also some of the pictures that Lindsey had sent over as well. So as a result of being partnership with Lindsey and being in chats with Archie, what had happened was Archie had kindly invited me along to go to Malawi as part of their trip in 2025, just there in summer. So as this project was going on, there was a lot of video calls back and forth to make sure that everything all worked and that I could actually go along, especially being from two different councils. We thought that might be quite challenging as well. So I didn't take any pupils along this year. My group was just to try and see if there was anything that we could do to build this partnership going forward. So it was in the initial stages. Over in Malawi, so some of the things that I focused on was I spent most of the time troubleshooting some of the materials. I think because I've been using it for a good number of years now, I think anytime there was any problems, I knew exactly how to get it fixed and get it up and going, which meant that they can reuse the resources and not feel that they were, they couldn't use it or reuse it again, and it was limited for them. So this is me just teaching at the front on some of the pictures, and the images that you can see are actual both part of the projects that we've done over in Scotland as well. Usually I use my tap turned on, but they had an inventive way where they've got a big bucket of water, and we trickled down the water that way, generating the energy using this turbine solution. So the pupils, while we were over there, it was more in a sense of using the resources and coming up with practical ways to try and think about climate change, rather than giving them the answer to what they could do. It's more giving them the resources and seeing what they come up with. That is the best way, especially coming from a science background. Learning through inquiry is the best way to come up with new and inventive ideas to try and combat this climate problem. We have been doing the exact same in Science Club as well. Here, usually most of my Tuesday lunchtimes is providing the pupils with resources and hoping for the best that they get to the end goal at the end of it. So it just says here, pupils had the opportunity to use their own ideas, problem solve, and learn the importance of scientific discovery through inquiry. And I think that's a great way of actually encouraging pupils to maybe think outside the box and come up with different ideas to hopefully come up with new and inventive ideas to combat this climate change. So going forward, just to finish up, is our next steps as a school. We are hoping to send over some of the resources. As mentioned, I've got 4 resource kits that I've been using throughout the year. So it was an idea just by the group that we could pull together some of the resources that we've been using or that we aren't actually using and send them over to Malawi to promote and encourage this partnership going forward. So using our recycled materials and promoting regeneration through this. Super. Hopefully that is enough. I'm more than happy to answer any questions about Climate Smarter and how to maybe get involved. I think the group are looking at maybe expanding, and some councils are actually already involved, so you might already be able to gather materials that way from the Scotland side. So what
Ashley,
just stop sharing my screen, and it's over to you, Archie.
Great. I'll see if I can match you with your IT skills there, to share my screen. So let's see. Here we go. SMP presentation. That looks about right. Okay. So my name's Archie Marshall. I work at the community school of Auchterarder, and I realised that I've actually been working there since 2001. So this is my end of my 25th year when it comes to summer. Still alive, still going strong, and still enthused. I was giving a presentation. I'm trying to see where the file sharing thing is. More actions, is that right? Is that what it is? I need to play the presentation, but this is a strange screen that I've got. Where's the?
You can see your slides on the screen, Archie.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to do is find out how to play them as a thing.
Now, if you want, I can move the one. I've got a button here that I can move things on.
If you could make them full screen, that'd be great, Mitch. I've got it on another device here as well, just so I can see what I'm doing next.
No, it's full screen on our screens.
Is it?
Oh,
well,
when
that's
you want the
perfect.
slides moved on, I'll do it.
Well, I probably can do it. I just was expecting to go full screen. Anyway, so yeah, Archie Marshall. I was yesterday. I was giving a sales pitch at our assemblies for another trip. We're so excited about Malawi now that COVID seems to have kind of receded and we can get back together again. We went out for the first time in 2010, myself and, well, I'm counting 2007, on a global teacher trip. So 20 years ago, it turns out. It's one of these places, Malawi kind of gets into you. Unfortunately, you sort of, you want to think, move on to new things, but actually the people are so nice, you think, right, okay, I'll just stick with them. And I'm still in touch with the guy who, with whom I stayed. So I went and you went and stayed with somebody in the community whilst you worked in the school. So I was there for 4 weeks. And Matthew's Fossa is still a good friend. I've been trying to assist with some of his children through further education, and also some of his interesting ways of developing his own situation. So one of the things I realised is that Malawians are very good at doing things. It's just they're not very good at communicating what they're doing. And but that has changed over the year, particularly at the school. When we first started doing projects together, you would agree a project and then you would wait for a few months and then you think better phone. So you'd phone, and the first thing that you would identify was that they would say, oh, there was a problem. And so therefore you'd revert to what worked before. But over the years, we've managed to change our mindsets so that now what we do is we discuss things much more. They're much happier at discussing things with us, and we're very much more receptive to going with their ideas. So it's been a really interesting 20 years that that we've spent together. So this year we went over. There's a group of 7 pupils, and myself and Emily Platt, who is a biology teacher. She is in the classroom next to me, so there's no escaping the Malawi pressure. And also Ashley, who took the photograph there. So as Ashley said, they had a Climate Smarter project, which was really good. The lab that it's taking place in, it was a lab that we fundraised for in Auchterarder, but we didn't go out and build it because we're not very good. We gave the money to the school, and the school organised for it to be constructed. And it's been a really good asset for them. As many of you know, in Malawi, getting a science block is not a given, and so it's really helped them to develop their ability to deliver science. And so, I was seeing the next slide. So I want to advance that. Can I do that? Right. Okay. So hopefully you're seeing the Little Sun project. This was something which we discussed in when we visited in 2014 at a group, 4 girls and myself and another teacher that visited in 2014. And when we were chatting about what to do, there was a concern that the young people who were self-boarders, that's too far to walk to school every day, so they stay in basically sheds. They rent a shed from the community, and they fend for themselves, which is not very safe. There's a lot of safeguarding issues surrounding that. But to do their homework at night, they would be burning candles in a confined space, which is not very good for your respiratory tract. So we thought, well, we'll try to introduce some kind of sustainable energy. And these little suns are brilliant. It's a little medallion. So Mitch, that would go well with your vibe. On one side, there's a small solar panel that you charge up during the day. There's a battery inside, and then the other side there's an LED which has got 2 settings. So you've got a button which switches it on, off, low and high, and the pupils can do homework in a much more pleasant surrounding. Another project that we started in 2010 was the
Sorry, Archie, we've got 1 more minute.
Right, tree planting project. So we've done tree planting, we've done vegetable gardens. These are all to do with trying to promote sustainability. And then the one thing I want to talk about is the biogas, that the toilets and the biogas go together. the hostel that they're building at Lintipi, which is going to accommodate the girls and make it much safer for them. Well, they said, well, what do you want for sustainable energy? Well, we want biogas. I thought solar panels, they wanted biogas. The biogas will collect, the biodigester will collect the effluent from the hostel and also the bio waste from the kitchen, which is going to cook food for them. And also they're going to get some of the organic waste from the marketplace, which is a couple of 100 meters up the road. That will allow them to be able to supply gas for the kitchen, which will be a sustainable form of energy, and they can use the fertilizer to put onto the fields where they're growing the maize to feed the children. So it's a very sustainable thing. As I say, partnership is great. Rolina and Gibson, Kauai. Rolina's a teacher at the school, Gibson's a farmer. So they've been brilliant. I've been working with Rolina since 2013. She's full of great ideas. All she needs is a bit of backup and support. We took the kids out to the lake at Chembe at Cape Maclear. There's a HEED centre, health, education, environment and economic development. And so they do a lot of sustainable work out there. So we're showing our children what they can do with very small things. Just about the climate change, this is the lake in 2018, this is the lake in 2025. So they're holding the water back at the Liwonde barrage, but that's impacting not just the lake, but also the Liwonde Wildlife Park. You can see the water level is flooding the trees. So there's a lot of impact, and it's good for our pupils to realise that it's a lovely country, but they've got a lot of challenges. How are we going to go? Well, you can see that when we were there, we buddied up our pupils with their pupils and our teachers with their teachers. And that's the possibility that we have for the future, is to be able to learn to work together. Sorry for the rushed presentation, but
not at all. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, our last presentation is from George Watson's College, and they've established a link and regularly visit Malawi. So we're now going to hear from Katie Everett and Sally Ray, who's an SNP trustee, about their recent trip in October. Thanks, Archie. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share screen just now. Sally, are you on?
I'm here, yeah, and I've really totally stitched Katie up. So I'm on doing a multitasking. I'm on a minibus run, and I think our netball team's about to finish. So I'll briefly say we started our. I'm going to say the first slide, and then pass over to Katie. Yeah. All right. We've been going since 2012, and we used to take just over 20 pupils. It's doubled in size, and we have sort of such a demand that we now take over 40 each year in October, which has been superb. Katie, I persuaded Katie to come last year, and I've twisted her arm, and she's coming back again this year. So we've kind of just focused on Katie's first impressions and lasting memories. And they can't be too bad because I have persuaded her to come back. So I'm going to pass on to Katie just now.
Just checking everyone can see the slides as well.
Yes, everything's fine, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So yeah, as Sally said, I first started at Watson's about 4 years ago now, almost exactly 4 years ago. And, you know, kind of when I'd first started, I hadn't really heard a whole lot about Malawi, but little did I know it would become such a big part of both my professional role, but also personally. As Sally said, when I was first asked, I was very, very excited and quite honoured, actually. It's a huge thing to be asked to go on a school trip, as I'm sure quite a lot of you know, but especially to somewhere so different. Having been part of our Watson's Malawi partnership, which is our charity SKIO associated with the school for kind of 2 years before going on the trip, I was really excited to just kind of see everything come to life and, you know, get to go to, you know, all the places and speak to all the people that I'd heard so much about. So yeah, fast forward to Addis Ababa airport, you know, shepherding a small group of pupils through security. It was finally time to see the first glimpse of the place that we'd talked so much about. I would say in many ways it was like I expected, you know, we'd say hot, busy, and also feeling a little bit out of my depth, just with it being so different. But quickly we kind of adapted. The first, I'm going to talk about STECA. The first kind of thing that we did in Malawi, we landing in Blantyre. We visited STECA, which is one of our partners through Watson's Malawi Partnership. I'm sure many of you might have heard about STECA, but just in case you haven't, it's a children's home in Blantyre run by Godnose and Helen Maseko, who are just absolutely incredible people. And it was a brilliant place to start. Not least because they are quite known for what they call their dialogue groups. So getting the young people chatting in small groups. You can kind of see in the pictures them sitting under the canopies, hopefully. And that's them in their small groups chatting about their lived experiences, both in Scotland and Malawi. So topics such as climate change, family values, gender stereotypes, a huge range of things. And a really big part of that is there's no adults in the conversation. So unfortunately, that meant for me that I wasn't able to be part of these discussions, but just hearing the reflections afterwards from the pupils was still quite powerful. And then afterwards, a little celebration, as is the way in Malawian culture, you know, a lot of dancing, a lot of singing, which was just so special to see throughout the time. I think from the pupils' reflections, just hearing how similar hopes, dreams, life experiences might have been different, but you know, the pupils or the students in STECA still wanted to be teachers, doctors, engineers, very similar to our pupils' ambitions, which was really lovely to hear. I'm actually just going to go backwards now. Sorry, I put my slides in the wrong order, but just chatting a little bit about some of our other activities during the trip. So a big part of the trip was visiting partner schools. We have a couple in we have one in Mangochi and Blair Palm School, and then other schools up in Kuti. So this was a really uplifting part of the school of the trip, you know, getting to see the pupils interacting with pupils their own age and then also younger. We at Blair Palms Primary School, we'd had our primary 6 pupils, because we're an all-through school. Our primary 6s had written letters to the pupils at Blair Palms, and then you know, they wrote letters back in return, which was really nice. Really nice for them to share a little bit about themselves, and then some paired reading exercises as well. We also have a partnership with a school called Malawi's Children's Village, MCV, in Mangochi as well. And the pupils there were able to take part in an English lesson. So just seeing how different that was really exciting for them. So it was lovely to just see, you know, the determination, enthusiasm to learn from all of the Malawians. And I think our pupils learned a lot from them, and were quite inspired by their energy, resilience. We also have partnerships in, you know, in other aspects, in other places in Malawi, and things like enterprise and environment. We have partnerships at Mount Melange and Zomba, so half the group go to each. So it's, while the education kind of underpins everything in our trip, we do try and show the other parts to the pupils, so that they can be tourists and, you know, enjoy their time on safari, and also hear more about sport and culture and health and well-being as well. Similarly to Armadale, I think a lot of our pupils found that the heat tempered their netball and football skills, getting beaten by children significantly younger than them. But yeah, it's all part of the fun, isn't it? So just going to have a quick chat about, sorry, I'm going back on my slides, a couple of our other projects. So this is a new project, it's a piggery. So when we were actually on the trip in 2024, we had some curio settlers, market sellers, approached some of the members of staff on the trip, talking about a new proposal they had to build a piggery. This kind of link of talking about climate change as well. They wanted to stop selling kind of their wooden figures, objects, and create a self-sustaining piggery, which has been absolutely brilliant. They are no longer reliant on the cedar wood, so in Mount Malawi, there's been huge deforestation there. So this has been quite a turning point for them. So we were able to provide the seed money from some fundraising that the pupils had done, and now it's quite self-sufficient, and there's countless number of pigs, which is brilliant. We've also got Mayanko, which is also near Mount Malawi in southern Malawi, providing pathways for financial independence. So our pupils this year actually were able to take part in a small kind of enterprise workshop, led by the staff at Mayanko, which has been brilliant. It's a relatively small organisation, as I understand, but it's been brilliant to kind of see them grow over the years. Then also, again, just talking about the sports, lots of football and netball kits being delivered to various partners throughout the Malawi, generously donated by lots of teams across the city, which has been really, really exciting to see. Just in case anyone wanted to get in touch with either myself or Sally, just a wee contact email there. But yeah, happy to take any questions about the partnership. Just a final wee note that, it's just for everyone that's been to Malawi, I think we can all agree it's more than just a trip, and a journey about connection and meeting new people, and seeing the hope, and yeah, genuine friendship from the people there. So very, very excited to be returning. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally and Katie, for that input. And thanks to all the presenters this afternoon. What a power of work and thought has gone into the work that you're doing. Lindsey and Ausward telling us about their, the thought-provoking work that they're doing around climate change in Malawi, and that, we've all got our part to play under the Sustainable Development Goals and the Learning for Sustainability. And thank you also to Nicola, Sam, Archie, Ashley, Katie and Sally for showing the effect that school partnerships can have on the importance of being able to visit these partners. So, it underscores that WhatsApp and email can only take you so far. The people-to-people links that have been fostered by the SMP encourage face-to-face encounters, either here or in Malawi. So, a heartfelt thank you for all the colleagues on the call and all the work with the young people that are happening behind the scenes, and also to the colleagues from the Scotland-Malawi Partnership, Nasim, Dorothea, Mitch, Chad and Stuart for their work also behind the scenes. So thank you so much, and let's get planning now for the next Youth and Schools Forum. So thank you. Are there any questions at all or any points that people want to bring in? I'm happy to close the meeting if there are no questions. I've looked through the chat. Can anyone see any questions in the chat? Lots of comments, but...
Lindsey, can I just ask one question? On one of your very first slides, you mentioned about there's no irrigation, but 90%. Is there any move to store water when the water does come for future use?
Yes, there are lots of things being done by local people in local villages. I can remember visiting in Balaka. There are ways of collecting the water in tanks. There's also ways of collecting water in puddled ponds. So people do try and collect the water and keep it, but climate change is affecting the amount of water that's coming and when it's coming, and sometimes it's too much too late. What's been great on this, if I can just say, is the fact that people are thinking about their own climate footprint and working with people in Malawi. Malawi people will come up with their own solutions and their own answers to how they can best address climate change. And it's good that we ourselves here think, what am I doing? Am I living my best life to tackle climate change as we live in a world where we've got, you know, cars and electricity and gas in our own homes? It's a global problem. We all need to be doing something about it in our own way, in our own culture.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Lindsay, we've got someone with their hand up now. I can't see the name. You cheesy? You want to come in?
This will need to be the last one, Sharon.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Actually, I just want to commend the good work that you're doing, because I've seen a series of the work that have been put in place for Malawi Scotland partnership. It is amazing, such that we can create this world a better place for us all to live. And you have to also to understand that climate crisis has greatly affected Malawi. And of course, you have seen the effect that really has come due to climate change. Really is overwhelming, but I believe that through the holding hand that all us who can hold the hand together, I think we can come up with a great impact, because what matters is one step at a time, one initiative at a time. At the end, we're going to change this world, particularly Malawi and Scotland. Thank you so much for this wonderful insight.
Thank you, and that's an excellent way to end the session. I wish everyone a happy, peaceful evening, and thank you so much for your contributions. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.